Hello everyone, and welcome to this tabletop tournament breakdown. So in this last week, I actually played in the third tabletop tournament that was hosted by the Lore Master of Sotek. Unfortunately, I did miss the second one because I had to go out of town, but the third one was definitely quite a bit of fun. So for this tabletop tournament, just a bit of a refresher, the way the tournament works, you have 8 players. Each round is going to be best of 1, so it's just kind of standard brackets with elimination format, but it's best of 1. So you pick one army, one race, and much like a Warhammer 40,000 or Warhammer Fantasy Battles tabletop tournament, you bring one list and you play with that same list the entire tournament. So it's definitely quite a bit of fun. It changes up the metagame quite a bit. I mean, there's certain factions that are quite a bit stronger in this format. I think factions like Lizardmen are actually really good, right? Because you can go so heavy duty and just these big armored monsters. And if somebody has a well-rounded army, they might not have enough like heavy armor piercing to deal with those threats, right? So I think that's definitely pretty fun. And yeah, so for this tournament, we're going to be going with Bretonnia. And the first one I played in, which you guys saw a couple weeks ago, was able to win that tournament with the Vampire Coast, who is a very, very strong all-comers list. I mean, their guns are just good in so many different matchups. The deck droppers are great. Their lords are powerful. Vampire Coast, Vampire Counts, most of the undead factions are very, very competitive here. We did see, I think in the second week, the one I didn't play in, I think the finals was like double Tomb King. So it'll be interesting to see what the metagame develops into. So for our leadership, we do indeed have King Lewin, and I think he's going to be a pretty safe pick based on the metagame that I've seen over the past couple weeks. So we have seen a lot of Tomb Kings, a lot of Tomb Scorpions, Cambrian War Sphinxes, heavily armored constructs. So I feel like Lewin is going to be pretty good in an all-comers tournament. And one of Bretonnia's biggest issues in general is dealing with heavy armor, right? You often have to use halberds. In Grail Knights and Questing Knights, though they can do okay and Knights of the Realm have anti-large, it's like they all seem to struggle a little bit against these big constructs who often hide on top of spears and halberds. And I feel like, yeah, having Lewin, high mass, he can really hunt down the big constructs. He gives you some good stopping power, so I like him quite a bit. On top of that, we do have Damsel with the Lore of Life. Life is just a very safe lore of magic, regardless of the matchup. And remember, certain lores of magic, like Lore of Heavens, might be really good against Tomb Kings, for example, right? The Wind Blast is just devastating against Tomb Guards and Halberds and all that kind of stuff. But in other matchups, it might be a little bit limp, right? So having healing, I think, is going to be the safest pick here. So we do have Lore of Life. For the Infantry Corps, it's a pretty wide army. We have men-at-arms, some with shields, a couple groups of foot squires, because obviously there can be dwarves. And looking at my army, I was like, the whole time I was like, can I beat dwarves? Can I beat dwarves, right? Because like I don't have much armor piercing. I have Questing Knights, 2 foot squires, and Lewin, but is that really enough to beat a dwarf army? But then again, the dwarf army is probably going to be accounting for other factions as well. Might not be prepared for your cav, but still, it's pretty tough. You kind of have to think of every possible matchup. And of course, going into the tournament, you don't know what your opponents are going to be playing. You have no idea what the metagame is going to be other than looking maybe at previous tournaments. So foot squires, we got 4 archers here. This army mainly, so the way I built it, and it may or may not have been a mistake, but I built it just going all in on beating Greenskins and Skaven. I was like, we've seen so much Greenskin, so much Skaven. I know there's a couple players in the tournament who love those factions. So I was like, okay, let's make sure that we can beat them. So we definitely, this is like almost like a build I would just bring against Greenskins normally on ladder. And against Skaven, it's very good as well. We have a ton of chaff. We have archers against rat ogres, hell pits. On top of that, we have knights errants to chase down slingers, knights of the realm against rat ogres, quest knights against storm vermin. It's, black orcs for that matter. And of course, Lewin is very good against both those factions because he terror routes them very easily. He's hard to snipe because of the lion's shield and his healing. So, I mean, this army is very good against, like, I would say lightly armored factions, but heavy armor, looking at this list, it's going to struggle a little bit against heavy armor. I thought that Lewin and the Questing Knights might be enough, and we'll find out for sure. But the Questing Knights have really good AP. They can do some heavy damage against constructs, though they're not like a true anti-large unit. And Lewin also. So we don't have a lot of true dedicated AP like halberds and things like that, but I figured that Lewin, the Knights of the Realm, and what's it called? The Quest Knights over here could do the trick. But I like the army quite a bit. So we're going to go through the tournament here. So if I win all the games and I'm able to win the tournament again, I'm just going to cast all 3. And even if I lose like the first or the second game, I'm then going to cast the finals. Essentially, the person that does knock me out, if I do get knocked out, I'm going to just follow them all the way through the tournament so you guys can get some closure and see, what list ultimately won the game, or the tournament, I should say. So that's pretty much it for my list. Pretty fun stuff. I had a really good time building this. And for the next tournament, I'll probably play, I would think like Dwarves or Empire or something. I mean, Vampire Coast is pretty safe. They're just so powerful. But I like to play some of the other factions that are a little bit more challenging in this format. So that's going to be it. So guys, without further ado, let's jump right into the game 1. So we'll see you guys there in a moment. And here we are in game 1 of this tabletop tournament, which is going to feature a showdown between my Bretonnia and the Vampire Counts of Scythian King. So it was pretty much my worst nightmare realized already. I was like, okay, just give me a bestial faction. Give me the Beastmen or the Greenskins or Skaven or something. And I get the Vampire Counts, which is already a really hard matchup in my opinion, especially if they go with the Terrorgeist. So he does have a Terrorgeist plus a Zombie Dragon. And, Lewin is going to be a little bit pressured up in the skies, right? Because a Terrorgeist and especially a Blood Dragon Vampire Lord is probably one of the few lords in the game that can go fisticuffs with Lewin and probably even win that matchup, right? He has the Heart Piercing, he has a lot of good abilities, and, the Sword of Anti-Heroes. He has, Vampire Magic, he can heal himself, so it's going to be pretty nasty for sure. He's got a Terrorgeist as well, so he has a very dominant Air Force. Granted, I do have a ton of archers as well, so the archers are going to provide some Overwatch fire, and the rest of his army is very chaffy, right, because he invested so much in the skies. Top of that, he does have a Necromancer on the ground who's going to be a bit of a mana battery. He does also have some magic, but it looks like he's going to be there for the Rod of Corruption, or Rod of something? Forbidden Rod? He's going to be stroking some rod. I don't know what it is. Yeah, Forbidden Rod. So his main army is going to be Blood Knights as well. Another pretty good anti-large tool. So I don't really have any cav that can match these guys, but I do have cheap spears and bows, and hopefully I can kind of drag them through the mud. On top of that, he's got some Zombos, some spears. He does have the Cairn Race, and it looks like there's going to be some Graveguard in the middle. The Stearnsman, Skeleton Spears. Honestly, a pretty solid anti-Bretonnian army. I think it's pretty damn solid, but I still have answers, right? I'm going to be able to tear up his ground army pretty quick. And from there, maybe I'll be able to kite his air, and when they land, I can countercharge them. There's still plenty of good options for me with my army here. So on top of that, I do have some Mounted Yeomen. Forgot to point that out. The Mounted Yeomen are going to be out here on the flanks. So basically, my game plan, I was like, okay, I'm going to get the Mounted Yeomen. I'm going to push up and around here, and we'll do some fast forwarding while there's some posturing. And I'll get the Mounted Yeomen. I'll push up and around, and maybe he'll chase me with the Blood Knights, and I can kind of be, sort of use them as a bit of a distraction. So my forces are going to be advancing here. I didn't want to kind of fight in the hill to make sure I had, good line of sight. And I obviously do have the mobility advantage. He does have the Dragon and the Terrorgeist, but I have a ton of cav units. So you can see I'm splitting up my cav here and here. I do have some Knights Errants here, as well as the Knights Errant over here, the Defenders of Fleur-de-Lis. So they're going to be charging in, getting some freebies on the Feasters of the Dusk. Questing Knights and Knights of the Realm being kept in relative reserve, so I'm just waiting to see where he goes with the Zombie Dragon, some of those other troops. And here you can see, we're going to get a nice little charge. So the Bretonnians coming in with the heavy lance formation, just plowing through these filthy vampiric monsters. We get okay damage, nothing to write home about. We do kill 3 models, and we take pretty much no damage. Although if we do get a Knight drag down here, it's probably not going to be worth it. In the meantime, we're going to be charging in with those Knight Errants, also some Overwatch fire coming in from the Peasant Bowmen. We're going to be shooting in at the Crypt Ghouls, who are a very, very good and tasty target. The Blood Dragon Vampire Lord, maybe he's going to be getting a breath attack right here in a moment. I'm not sure. I can't remember quite what his plan was. And again, I don't want to just go fight him with King Lewin. I'm going to poke in, I'm going to pull back. Lewin is a little bit faster, so I'll go in when Lewin has his buffs, right? The Sword of Krone butters this guy up pretty good, lowers his armor. My opponent immediately realizes it probably isn't a good fight. It's going to be running, but still, I'm probably not going to be able to finish him off. So the trap actually worked. The Blood Knights in the back are going to be chasing down the Mounted Yeomen, so the Mounted Yeomen are just going to be kiting around, just trying to buy me as much time as I can. Still just peppering the ghouls with the arrows, and Big Daddy Lewin just kind of doing the best he can. Actually doing pretty well with the Sword of Krone. But as soon as the Sword of Krone disappears, I decide I don't want to take that fight. The defenders are going to be falling back and continuing to rear charge and just kind of troll. And you can see here, he's going to be using some breath attacks trying to get Lewin, but I'm able to kind of kite him a little bit. And the Terror guy's coming in. I mean, isn't going to be able to catch me. I think Lewin has 100 speed compared to these guys who are in like the 90s or like 80s or something for their respective speed. So my Cav force is going to be coming in the back. The defenders, as well as the Mounted Yeomen and the other group of Errants over here, are going to be charging into the spears. So the spears, I hit them on the side, so they shouldn't have their charge defense. A little bit of punting action going on, just going to be cycle charging those guys as much as I can. And in the back, the Blood Knights are still trying to chase my guys down, but just kiting pretty effectively. Mounted Yeomen are faster, 70 speed on these guys and 75 on the defenders, so I do have the speed advantage, which is good. In the meantime, just being very patient, trying to pick apart his army, get rid of his chaff on the ground with my bows. The Feasters are very, very beat up, and you can see he's trying to chase off my Cav with his leadership. I definitely think he should have been a little bit more aggressive. He's going to be pushing forward now, but the Men-at-Arms, it's not often that a Bretonnian ground force is able to win, right? So they're going to win here. And knowing that he's very busy in the back trying to deal with my Knights, I'm going to be attacking with Lewin and just trying to clean up this main force. Over here, I was able to collapse with the Questing Knights on top of the spears, and if you're able to rear charge them or get them while they're fighting something, it's not going to be so bad. And Big Daddy Louis is going to be pulling back. I did think I saw a zombie summon coming. I thought the Necromancer was going to be doing something to that effect of summoning some zombies. But yeah, the Blood Knights are going to be coming back, realizing their chase is a little bit futile, or futile. What is that? That's from Star Trek, right? When the Borg, that's what the Borg say, I think. Yeah. Resistance is futile, but over here we're able to get a good charge in the Skeleton Spearmen. They're pretty beat up. Feasters in the Dusk are going to be charging back in, but my Questing Knights are ready to party, and we're killing a lot of the chaff for free. Just kind of the pressure coming from all angles from the Knights is really kind of I think it's making it tough for my opponent to decide where he wants to go. And most of my army's just kind of sitting and resting. They're just kind of, hanging out, enjoying being peasants and all that, and, doing their thing. So over here, the Terrorgeist is going to be chasing Lewin, and his dragon does land on my Knights right there. Also, is going to be popping some buffs, the Helm of Discord. But I just pull back. So the notifications are going off in my peasants' ears, and they're going to be severely hampered by that. He's trying to chase me with the Cairn Race, go after the Knights here. I'm able to get away. And now we're going to be charging in the Necromancer, trying to do a little bit of work, just getting freebies wherever we can, right? So balance of power definitely a little bit in my favor now. The kiting's been going pretty well, just not committing to a normal fight. I mean, he could have pushed forward, but, I don't know, that probably would have been better in retrospect, but my main army would crush his army pretty quick, right? So maybe he's just trying to weather the storm and get some damage. Knights Errant here a little bit beat up. Unfortunately, the Mounted Yeomen finally do get caught because of a lapse of my micro here on the by the Blood Knights. So the Blood Knights definitely fulfilling that anger against those guys. And in the back, I was finally able to achieve my goal of pulling my opponent apart, right? So I used the Lion's Shield just in case there's any witchcraft or arrows coming my way. Well, not arrows, but magic. I didn't know. For some reason, I thought I was thinking Spirit Leech, but yeah, he doesn't have it, obviously. But I used the Regrowth and Stand Your Ground, and Lewin is just beating the hell out of this Terror guy. So that's going pretty damn well for me. Yeomen are going to be pulling back, and the Knights, in the meantime, just kind of kiting about his infantry, just doing some really good cycle charges. And on the ground, the Necromancer and company's doing his best to, to get in there and have a good time. So Knights of the Realm are going to be charging in. I didn't really feel concerned about this because even if he does land, a pretty good breath attack right there on the defenders. But even if he does land here, the Knights of the Realm are going to be an okay fight for the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord. So the zombies coming up from the ground are going to pin me down by some time for the Necromancer. The Blood Dragon Vampire Lord looks like he's pulling back maybe for some reason. No, he's actually looks like he's just going to be summoning more zombies on top of my troops there. Terrorgeist in the back's pretty much beat up. So at this point, it's looking pretty tough for the vampire counts. They're getting worn down. Granted, I don't have a ton of stopping power, right? So it's crazy. Even though I've killed so much of his stuff, he still has the Cairn Race over there. I believe the Lizardmen are still in pretty good shape, and my peasant archers are going to be shooting in after the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord, and the defenders are going to be charging in to meet the Blood End. So I was like, okay, I'm going to commit to this fight. Defenders, Knights of the Realm, obviously going to take a bit of a beating, but with Lewin coming in, I felt pretty comfortable. The Blood Dragon Vampire Lord is going to be swooping in as well. Lewin does get a really nice kind of cleaving strike. Men-at-Arms coming in, healing going down from both sides, so I'm going to be using Earthblood, and I'm sure a big fat invocation of the Heck will be coming down here in a moment. And you can see the army of the vampire counts getting a little bit tattered here. Some of my foot squires are falling back. I'm just being super patient. Although I probably should have just pushed my troops forward, but I was just trying to harass him and do as much damage with using as little of my resources as I possibly could. So the Necromancer here, I thought about diving in with King Lewin, but he did pull up the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord to kind of chase me. Hopefully you guys don't mind the fast forwarding, but there's a lot of games to cast here, so I'm trying to get to the juicy stuff. King Lewin's going to be flying up and around, trying to intercept the Blood Knights. We are going to be going after the Necromancer. Another breath attack coming down on Lewin, but I am able to just barely dodge that, so pretty happy about that. And as far as his army goes, he does have some Blood Knights left, Necromancer, Blood Dragon Vampire Lord is here as well. But yeah, we should be able to clean this somewhat up from here. The bounce power for the first time coming into my favor. And now we're going to be pushing our main army in, using the foot squires and other troops to finish off the Cairn Race, who are actually going to be really tough. So, in this first game, I'm already learning some of the big issues with my list I picked, right? I have a lot of trouble, even though many aspects of the game have been going very well. I didn't understand why it was so close, but then I was like, then again, I don't really have the best armor piercing tools. I'm having a lot of trouble dealing with the heavy armor. Against bestial factions, the peasant bowmen, light armor, I can tear that apart all day. But here, it's pretty tough against these dragons and the Terrorgeist, and I was able to isolate them luckily due to a little bit of a misplay from my opponent. But even still, had they been together and just kind of chasing me in unison, it would have been really, really tough to take those guys down. So in the back, peasants and company are going to be engaging with the Sternsmen. Foot squires are engaging with the chaff. Over here, we have a bit of a pit fight as well. Peasants fighting zombies, which is always a good time. We do get a full surround on the Necromancer with the Quested Knights. They're doing a great job just kind of chewing them down. Blood Dragon Vampire Lord coming in, but now that I have the advantage, King Lewin is going to realize this and seize upon it, and he's going to be chasing down this Blood Dragon Vampire Lord all day. Lewin definitely very beastly, but I'm in my healing cap. He's not quite there, but he is at a little bit of a deficit in terms of his HP and everything, and the Men-at-Arms and other troops are just going to be collapsing in, and that's pretty much going to be all she wrote for the vampires. They got some units over here. Peasants are going to come and go, but eventually everyone's going to pile in from angles. And even if Cairn Race do have really good physical resist, they have pretty poor leadership, so they're going to be able to crumble pretty quickly if you get a full surround. Blood Dragon Vampire Lord coming after the Damsel, but King Lewin is not going to stand for that, so we're going to be jumping on the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord, buttering his bread, and he's going to be going quietly into the good night. So that's going to be it. Game 1. My Bretonnia list will be advancing. But I still think it has a ton of holes. I was looking at it, I was like, okay, what am I having troubles with? It's the armor, right? So maybe if we get Greenskins, Beastmen, Skaven, even against Empire, this army list is actually pretty good against Empire. It's just going to really struggle against heavily armored monsters, constructs, things like that. I suppose I should have made some changes. I actually thought about bringing double Hippogriff Knights, but we'll see if we can get there, guys. The next match was definitely a very fun one, so make sure to stay tuned for that, and we're going to jump over to Game 3. So well played to my opponent, Scythian King, and we'll see you guys in Game 2. And here we are in Game 2, which is going to feature a showdown between my Bretonnia and the Dinosaurs of Felcon. So guys, you can see he has a very heavily armored army with Temple Guard. He's got Crocsgores. He has I think an Ancient Stegodon as well as Mazdamunion's Lock. So there's a lot of armor. It's going to be tough, but we do have some options in regards to killing all the chaff, running over the skinks, maybe getting some focus fire on the Crocsgores with the bowmen. And though they are heavily armored, the peasant bowmen can do some okay work against the Crocsgores. I'm really hoping to get some value from that. So Lewin's really going to have to be an MVP here as well with the Questing Knights and Knights of the Realm. Lewin probably can take down Jabba the Hutt on Zlok, but not alone. Obviously, Jabba the Hutt has his Temple Guard and some other supporting elements. And this is going to be the Stegodon with the machine gun. So a very aggressive army here from Felcon. I like it quite a bit. I think armies like Dwarves and Vampire Coast would be really, really good against this list because they have all the guns and the durability, but we're going to see if the peasants are up to the task. So a little bit of fast forwarding here as we do posture, and our opponent is able to chase away some of our mounted yeomen into the forest, who actually did Vanguard. But he was pretty much deployed in the forest as is, so I'm going to be deploying out here in open field. And I do have the ranged advantage with the Peasant Bowman, so I can easily kind of just bait him in here. So if we look over here, the lizards are going to be advancing out of the forest. Jabba the Hutt and Zoc, the machine gun fire coming in on my mounted, or on my men-at-arms here, but thankfully I do have the shields. They're only going to lose one casualty to that missile fire, and yeah, they're going to be taking that like absolute champs. So a couple of redeeming factors about this matchup here is that the skinks are, pretty weak, so my men-at-arms and foot squires are going to shine in the infantry fight. But the most important thing is going to be taking out the Croxagores and the big heavy armor, because there's 100 armor here, we have 140 on Zlok, and then obviously this Ancient Stegodon has 140 armor as well. So a lot of big, meaty targets. But the Peasant Bowmen are going to be shooting in, going after the Croxagores with their initial volleys. Not doing a whole lot of damage against the armor, but it's kind of a long game, right? Eventually we might be able to wear them down. Mounted Yeomen coming down from the hills, getting a nice lancing charge on these skinks, actually doing some okay damage. They were pretty beat up already, but still generating some really good value against those skink cohorts. So the archers are going to be shooting in at the Croxagores mainly. I think I was focus firing those guys, figuring that my Questing Knights and Knights of the Realm and all those other troops would be able to deal with Jabba. I also sent in the peasants to kind of muck up the charge a little bit, maybe occupy Mazda Mundi for a moment, but it did not seem to go terribly well. They just got terror-routed pretty much instantly, but fight's pretty much on here. The Mounted Yeomen are going to be pulling back, a hammering charge coming in from the Questing Knights against the Temple Guard. We do actually kill a model on the charge, which is pretty good, 2 models, and we take, a little bit of damage back, but for the most part, I would say that was a better trade for us. And yeah, everyone's just engaging right now. So Jabba the Hutt's going to get attacked by King Lewin, and it looks like we do have his back here, so we get some free damage on him, which is good. The defenders charge in here against the skinks, doing some really, really solid damage. So the initial engagement going quite well. Peasant archers doing some decent damage against those Croxagores in the back. Questing Knights have fallen back. Mounted Yeomen, unfortunately, are being pounded in the distance by the skinks. But yeah, we're just going on that long path here of trying to take out the heavy armor. But unfortunately, the defenders really just got punished by the Ancient Stegodon. So it came in with Harmonic Convergence, did some huge damage. I was really shocked by that. Foot squires are going to be charging in as well, but they're also going to be hard countered by the Croxagores here. So I do follow up some Knights Errants, trying to get a little bit of damage on these guys. Lewin's going to be charging in, and you can see they're getting bursted pretty good. Over here, we do have our men-at-arms, as well as the Knights of the Realm trying to fend off this ancient beast, Ancient Stegodon. But there are Croxagores and skinks, and there's also some Temple Guard coming in, so it's going to be a little bit messy here. And Knights of the Realm, I feel like, don't cut it against like big targets like this. There's just too much armor, and they have their armor piercing is really low despite their bonus versus large. The arrows continuing to shoot in, doing pretty good. Croxagores getting worn down. They still have 12 models, but the HP is definitely getting a little bit low. We get a nice terror route coming in from King Lewin, and we also do rampage the Croxagores. That's pretty good, but nonetheless, the dinos are pretty heavy metal here. I mean, they're able to get the Questing Knights here. Thankfully, a very unfriendly, what is it called, Ruination of Cities, roasting a lot of the lizards, but my Questing Knights pretty much just got dumpstered. I charged in for a cycle charge, I stayed a little bit too long, and the focus fire from the skink skirmishers was able to poison them, slow them, and I wasn't able to get away from there, so very nasty stuff. The Knights are going to be charging in here, the Errants, and they're going to be going after Lord Mazda Mundi, trying to pin him down a little bit, but you can see my front line is buckling heavily. I mean, some fights are going well. Wherever the men-at-arms and foot squires are fighting, it's going okay, but the Temple Guard are just so meaty and powerful. And it looks like there's going to be a big juicy banishment going down as well on my Peasant Bowman with the Pox arrows. And you can see these bad boys are just getting roasted so bad. So beautiful play there from Falcon. But in the back, I was quite optimistic about this. The Knights of the Realm plus Lewin are able to get a full surround pretty much on the Stegodon. We have some foot squires here as well, just a little bit of extra AP. But yeah, we're getting good damage. The Ancient Stegodon's getting worked down. For the first time, we're getting a little bit of work done on some of these big heavy metal dinosaurs. And let's go ahead and look around the battlefield. So these Croxagores are pretty beat up. Jabba the Hutt's pretty much in perfect health. And this entire part of the formation. So if you look here, my Knights Errants, Men-at-Arms, and all these other troops are going to be re-rallying here. We're going to be charging into the Temple Guard, who we're not braced, so it's definitely worth charging them. We'll be pulling back almost immediately, just trying to be effective here. But even though I charged in and got some damage, my opponent's Overwatch fire from the skinks, just the cohorts and the skirmishers, just doing massive damage. The Men-at-Arms are going to rush in to intercept those guys, but a massive Bretonnian retreat here, which is definitely going to be very scary. Now, the bounce bar is still pretty even. I would say he has a slight advantage, but it's certainly something I could pull back here. The Peasant Bowmen are shooting in. We're getting a lot of work done on this Ancient Stegodon, but the Apotheosis is proven to be very, very strong. Knights of the Realm, very low. Stand your ground is keeping them in the fight. Croxagores coming in. Damsels here, and it looks like the Foot Squires are going to hold for a moment. And Foot Squires actually are very cost-effective against Temple Guard with their armor piercing and their bonus versus infantry, but the big deal, and the thing that's really going to be the kind of the epicenter of my tactic, is going to be taking out the big dinos. So Lewin going after the weaker one. Obviously, I could start to switch onto Mazda Mundi and defend my back line a little bit, but I was like, you know what? I need to at least finish one off to try and simplify this battle. Knights of the Realm are going to be getting a full charge into Mazda Mundi, not doing too much damage. I mean, chipping him away maybe like 20, 15 HP at a time, but nothing to write home about. The peasant bowmen are going to be running from terror, and there are some skinks kind of closing in from all angles. And the archers in the back have kind of regrouped, and they're going to be shooting at the croc scores. They are able to rampage them, which is great because that's going to take away my opponent's control. And here you can see that the Ancient Stegodon just getting that harmonic convergence, making it a much, much stronger fighter than it usually is. So the melee attack and melee defense putting it up to 56 and 76 melee defense. So even Lewin's great melee attack isn't necessarily taking it down very quickly. Over here, there's just more kind of a skirmishing, foot squires charging back in, finishing off some of these guys. Temple Guard are actually really beat up from effective cycle charging. So the Knights of the Realm, or not Knights, the Knights Errant here have been doing a really good job against these skinks. Unfortunately, the skinks are pretty quick. They're able to chase down my peasant bowmen, and the Knights don't really have the stopping power here to kill them very quickly. Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a messy affair. I have a lot of troops rallying here, but this is really just kind of the main area. And you can see for the first time in the battle, the bounce power is slipping in my opponent's favor. As King Lewin's getting beaten up, there's just too much armor for my army to handle. There's Croxagores. On top of that, we do have an Ancient Stegodon. We have Temple Guard, and there's just too much. I think at this point, it's pretty much going to be it. As King Lewin can do some work here. He's going to charge in, start working on Jabba, who's a little bit isolated. You can see he gets a little bit of damage done, but the Croxagores, even though they're anti-infantry, still hit hard and have good, good mass, so they're able to kind of pin me in. So Lewin gets in a pit fight. I'm like, all right, maybe we can commit here and get a little bit of a damage on the big boy, but we just kind of get swarmed by all the high mass. And the Bretonnians are rallying a little bit. The peasant archers are coming back in. There's some foot squires in the back trying their best to fight. King Lewin's doing his thing, but yeah, you can see there's just not much left. I should be able to polish off the skinks, and we did a decent job considering. I think we were able to get the some of the big boys low. Some of the croc scores finished off. The Temple Guard are pretty beat up as well, but nonetheless, my opponent played really well. Falcon did an amazing job. His micro was super good, and on top of that, I just don't think I had the armor to deal with it. So it definitely taught me a bit of a lesson in terms of the tabletop tournament. My Vampire Coast army that I played in the first one had a good combination of armor piercing and anti-infantry with the depth guard, but this army I went a little bit too all in on the anti-light, anti-greenskin, Skaven, Beastmen, and I really got punished by the heavy armor. So I think in the future, what I would probably do if I were to play Bretonnia again is maybe just go with a bunch of men-at-arms with polearms in the back line and just go super peasant heavy with a couple Knights Errant to just attack. Maybe. I think that would be the direction to go. Another build I was thinking about was actually double Hippogriff Knights. So just doing that in a bunch of peasants and seeing if I could overrun my opponent. But yeah, I'll definitely be back to Bretonnia sometime in the future. I'm going to be playing in Sotek's tabletop tournaments whenever I can. And of course, I'll be hosting them on my channel from time to time. So maybe I'll throw my hat in for one of those games. But again, very well played at Falcon. He had an awesome list. I loved it. It was so powerful. It was well-rounded. And even if I'm like it's just a tough list to crack for sure. I thought it was really, really good in an all-comers tournament. So now we're going to be moving on to the grand finals where Falcon will be facing the Greenskins, who I think is going to be led by Gojira. So guys, we'll see you in just a second in the grand finals. All right, guys, so now we're here in the grand finals, which is going to be a showdown between the Lizardmen, who are going to be led by Falcon, and the Greenskins, who are going to be led by Slow Jira, who I think is actually Gojira. Yes, it is, definitely. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a fun battle. You can see the Greenskins do have quite a bit more armor piercing in the front line. They have a lot of black work, so as far as the frontline fight goes, the Skinks and the Croxagores and the Temple Guard definitely going to have a little bit of trouble against 4 Black Orcs. I mean, Black Orcs do, in a way, are slightly countered by Croxagores, but for the most part, Black Orcs are decent even against big targets. They have 50 weapon strength, and with the Wah, these guys are going to be mean green, lawnmower machines, so that's going to be pretty cool. But the big issue is, again, for the Greenskins, they don't have a ton of armor-piercing missiles. I think they have the Rusty Arrows back here somewhere. Let's go ahead and look. So he's got Goblins. He's got Nasty Skulkers, which is a really good start. Wurzog is great. Goblin Big Boss. So yeah, he has some answers against the big guys. I mean, he can kind of swarm them with his Spider Riders and some of his other harass units and get some pretty good value in that way, but it's going to be tough to crack for sure. So as far as the missile force for the Greenskins goes, he has Death Creepers. He's got Goblin Wolf Riders, Force Goblin Spider Riders. Yeah, just a ton of mobile units. So it's going to be very micro-intensive for him to kind of potentially take this battle, and we'll see if he's up to the task. As far as the force of the dinos go, you guys saw it in the previous game. Mazdamundi, he does also have the Ancient Stegodon, Croxagores, and Skinks. So yeah, pretty solid stuff. So guys, let's get this show on the road. So this is going to be on the MP Alpine Ridge, which is one of my favorite maps. The Vanguard fights up on the high ground are pretty fun, especially when 2 armies really want to fight over it. But the Greenskins are going to be swarming in, getting a little bit of poking focus fire in, but nothing terribly devastating. Honestly, if I were the Greenskins, based on how this army looks, you're going to get out-skirmished probably by the Skink Skirmishers. Not out-skirmished, but you're going to be taking damage. Jabba the Hutt has a machine gun on his mount as well, so does Stegodon. I would probably pull back all my missile units and just kind of sit them behind my main army, and from there, I would probably just focus fire the dinosaurs with every last arrow I possibly have, because those are going to be the biggest obstacles to beating this list, for sure. Anyway, so it looks like Gojira is going to be doing a little bit of harass. He's going to be moving in with Goblin Wolf Riders, but he's going to be charging into cohorts. Cohorts obviously don't have any charge defense or anything like that, but there's also Temple Guard nearby, so Gojira pulls back pretty quick. So that was probably, a slightly worthwhile charge. He's going to be charging the Skirmishers here. So far Gojira's getting some pretty good catches here, kind of poking down these Skinks. And they're not chameleons, so they're not going to be as beastly, but the Big Daddy Croxagores and Jabba the Hutt are going to be charging down the hill. and easily fending those guys off. So there's a little bit of danger going on, danger close. So in the main fight, some skirmishing on the other side as well. The Goblin Wolf Rider archers actually just being dumpstered by the Stegodon's machine gun. The machine gun fire very, very powerful here. It does have 115 range. And most of these skirmishers I think are, let's go ahead and take a look. So Mangy Marauders are 100, these guys are 100, so actually more range on the machine gun, which gives the dinos some pretty decent anti-skirmishing. In the meantime, the dinos kind of holding up on the high ground, just using their cohorts and their other troops to absorb this skirmish here from the Greenskins. A little bit of ammunition being wasted, but again, still pretty early in the game. If anything, I would say that the Greenskins have come out slightly behind in terms of the trading. I mean, the cohorts plus the healing on the Stegodons are going to be able to outtrade in the skirmish game, especially with all the shielded cheap units they have. So, skirmishing is going to continue here. The Black Orcs and company are just kind of hanging tight, and you can see some of the Forest Goblin Spider Riders trying to come in and get some freebies, but Falcon reacts very quickly with the Stegodons, and it's very, very tough to find a chink in his armor here, right? So up on the high ground, Forest Goblin Spider Riders charge into the back of the cohorts. They get a little bit of damage, and Gojira pulls back very quick, so very well played to Gojira with that charge. That was incredibly nice. Yeah, the archers are shooting in against these skinks, but all the high-value units are pretty healthy, and you can see the ammunition of the Greenskins actually getting a little bit low, right? And they're going to need that to take out some of these bigger targets. FG of the Get going down on the big boy right here on Mazdamundi, so a little bit early on that, but he might be charging in. Oh, okay, so that's why he did it. So he gets a Gaze and Work right there, does some decent damage, and the Goblin Big Boss also going to be getting a charge in there, doing some damage. So, decent little effigy there. Effigy on its own does a little bit of damage, but Croxagores are going to come in, which are also a bit of a counter to Black Orcs. But Black Orcs with Wa and some of the other buffs should be okay, but a very massive charge coming in from Falcon's Dinos. And the Black Orcs are now poisoned, which is going to make it even tougher for them. And Falcon is going to be pulling back with the Croxagores, getting huge shock damage. So very, very well played there. Mazdamundi in the meantime fighting in the front line. Black Orcs, Forest Goblin Spider Riders coming in. And the Greenskins actually not in bad shape. They have a really good surround on the whole army, just poking in from all angles. Skulkers are going in as well. And the Black Orcs are pushing back the Lizards. So the Croxagores, and that's the thing, like Black Orcs, even in the Tomb King matchup, are very good against Ushopti. They're one of those units that have pretty good mass, so they can kind of stand up to bigger threats better than most Great Weapon Infantry can. Mazdamundi's being focused down, so Gojira gets a really nice kill box here. So finally he's able to get in good position here. Gojira getting some really good focus fire on Lord Mazdamundi, who's getting poked down, which is quite nice. In the back, you can see that Wurzog's going to be riding about on its hog, looking for opportunities to strike. These Black Orcs are just absolutely annihilating, just punching the skinks, but now it's getting a little bit dangerous, right? A huge foot of Gork going down in the back. Not sure where that was going. I think it might have been a misclick. I think he meant to click on this blob right here. But Shield of the Old Ones is going to be giving damage resist to all these guys in leadership. And the Black Orcs, for once are actually outmatched. Lord of Heavens here from the Lizardmen is going to be lowering all their armor and melee attack. And suddenly this huge batch of Black Orcs is just being pounded. The Croxagores and the Temple Guard all have really good armor piercing, but Croxagores more importantly are just so good against armored Great Weapon Infantry. In the back, you can see the Greenskin skirmishers trying to shut down the skink cohorts and get to the skirmishers to take away that poison and that missile pressure. Skulkers over here doing pretty good with the support of the Forest Goblin Spider Riders, but really I think what you guys see in the middle is really going to determine the fate of the battle. The Temple Guard are just grinding through, but the Black Orcs surprisingly resilient despite the situation not being very good. Wurzog looks like he's going to be using some Witchcraft perhaps, but no, I think that's actually going to be some sort of a Heaven spell coming in. Yeah, it looks like it was a banishment from Mazdamundi. So Mazdamundi getting a huge banishment, and the Greenskin line just kind of routing off here, which is going to be a little bit scary. So the bounce power was actually going very well for the Greenskins there, but suddenly the banishment and the Black Orcs kind of collapsing. Jabba the Hutt coming in with his steel chair. Apotheosis going down. There's a lot of factors here that are going very well. But Black Orcs, such a solid pick here. Their immunity to psychology against the dinosaurs. Granted, he didn't pick it. He had it in his pre-arranged army, and you can see, one of the reasons why his army made it to the finals. So Wurzog here going to be dropping some hot thunder here on Lord Mazdamundi, but at this point the dinos kind of have broken through. As far as the Greenskins go, let's take a big overhead look at the battlefield. So they have a big skirmishing corps, which is doing okay, but yeah, they're pretty much out of ammunition on all of those guys. So the Temple Guard, the Croxagores, Mazdamundi getting slapped with a FG of the Get, and the Goblin Big Boss getting in there with his little spider claws doing some okay damage. That's very good. I mean, still he's poking down Mazdamundi, but the Stegodon's healthy, Mazdamundi's healthy, and pretty much the Death Star of the dinos that the Curse of the Midnight Wind did a great job supporting are still fighting, and I don't know if the Greenskins are going to have enough stopping power to kind of re-rally this and get back in the game. For a long time, Gojira actually was ahead on the balance of power in the beginning. You guys could see that, but, once the main fighting started and the Curse of the Midnight Wind, Shield of the Old Ones, the shock impact of these Stegodons in melee combat, I think it was just too much for the Greenskins to handle. So there's going to be a big spell going down right here. It looks like a Foot of Gork, but Falcon looks like he's going to be reacting pretty quick to this. And the Foot of Gork does pretty much no damage. A very good reaction there from Falcon. It was just like a micro movement. He just barely moved forward and was able to get away. And had Gojira maybe gotten that Foot of Gork earlier, I think he could have maybe been in a little bit of a better situation. Had it hit those Temple Guard straight on the head earlier when they were more blobbed up. That could have maybe been something that could have won him the frontline engagement. From there, the Black Orcs wouldn't have so much meat to get through. But the Baconator is going to be running. Jabba the Hutt's coming for that booty. There's not going to be much escape. Skink Skirmishers are actually in a bit of a fight back here versus the Forest Goblin Spider Riders, which are a natural counter against Skinks in general. But the Black Orcs are all kind of running off the hills, and the Skulkers didn't look like they were able to get on the appropriate targets. That's something else that could have been pretty good. Had the Skulkers maybe got on top of Jabba or some of these big targets, I think that they could have done pretty well for themselves. But yeah, very good missile attack coming in from Gojira in the fourth quarter, kind of pulling the balance of power back towards the middle. Mazda Mighty does get slapped with that, and of course Cold Blood doesn't heal anymore, so the Dinos aren't quite as much of a healing-centric faction as they were. Goblin Big Boss doing his thing, but obviously he does have leadership issues being a little goblin. He's shaken. Croxagors are beating him, just two giant-ass dinosaurs just giving him the business. And yeah, from here you can see the Greenskins, even though the bounce power is pretty even, it's going to be tough. Ruination City is going down, and the Dino Death Star is healthy. These Temple Guards have 67 models. Other ones have I think 40 or 50. They're pretty strong. Greenskin's coming in for a last charge right here. And the Baconator is doing his thing. I mean, he's riding around, he's squealing, he's dropping missile attacks, but that big old Zlock's coming for him, and I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. So right here you can see the Baconator does get caught. Greenskins have a bit of a resurgence in terms of their troops. You can see the Black Orcs and the other guys coming back in here, trying their best to fight, but really, just what can man do against such reckless Jabba the Hutt? So Jabba's going to get in there and just give him the dirty. So well played to both players. Falcon's list going to be cleaning up here in the finals. Another missile attack coming in from Warzog, but it's really not going to be enough. They just simply don't have the leadership and the stopping power to get through this. But yeah, it was a really good list, and Gojira's list, I think that either of these lists could have beat one another. I think there was a couple play decisions in tactics that, Falcon was able to kind of out-trade there in that skirmish game, and he was able to waste a lot of the ammunition and get more value off the Greenskin skirmishing core. But I think had the Greenskins just sat back with their arrows and just sat directly on top of the big dinos and shot them down. Maybe the Skulkers had been used behind the Black Orcs, or so when the monsters pushed through the Black Orcs, like the Stegodons, maybe smoke bombs. But I really liked Gojira's build. I thought that it was really solid, and there was a reason, obviously, he made it to the finals with some very good competition. So he did very well. Very well played to Gojira. And Falcon, the grand champion, the Lizardmen, making them proud. I mean, a lot of people say Lizardmen are one of the weaker factions, of course, without their DLC, but they've done really well in these tabletop tournaments. And, of course, Falcon is an amazing player. He is very, very good. So he was able to come up with a great list, making Sotek proud using these Skinks as well as the Croxagors. Very, very cool stuff. Temple Guard were good, gives him some good armor piercing. The weaknesses of his list, I think, would be against like Dwarves and Vampire Coast and very powder-centric factions. But, aside from that, I mean, and he could still win against them. He can go wide. He has great magic. His front line is a bit of a lawnmower with those Croxagors and the machine gun Stegodon. And yeah, it was really cool. So again, very well played to Falcon and Gojira. And if you guys want to watch the whole tournament, it was about a week ago. So make sure to go over to the Lore Master of Sotek's channel. And again, biggest thanks to him for hosting the tournament. This is some of the most fun I've had. And I'm able to play in these because they are best of one. So it's really not too bad on my hand. But yeah, make sure to go subscribe to Lore Master of Sotek. He runs an awesome channel. And he's going to be hosting these, I think, like every Friday. He's going to be hosting some sort of a tournament, or maybe every other Friday. It's going to be a pretty regular event. So please make sure to head over there if you guys want to watch the other matches. There were some really fun ones for sure. So thanks again for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we will see you guys next time. Take care.